What's going on, y'all? Hope you're having a good day. I usually try to stay away from tragedies, and I don't like to pour on to the media onslaught when something bad happens. It's awful. You log into Facebook, celebrities are freaking out, politicians are freaking out, people are freaking out. I generally try to stay away from it, but this one I really started researching. I gave it a few days. I got the facts in the media, and what I'm going to do today is very I'm going to try to be as accurate as possible and not do too much, but I started researching, and what I do mostly, I do sometimes opinions, sometimes other stuff. I analyze the media. So I see what the media is saying, and then I see what that media is saying, and then I put things together. And let me just say, with Dayton and El Paso, none of this stuff's adding up. And I'm not going to sit here and say conspiracy theories. I'm not going to make it up. I'm not going to overly politicize it. But what I am going to do is analyze the media and show you how the narrative around Dayton and the narrative around El Paso are just not adding up. And I'll tell you what the media will not tell you. And for this one, I'm not posting any of my links. I'm not even going to post my free email list. I don't want any of that attached to this. I just want to tell you and keep it a real discussion for now. We'll do a few shout outs for like 30 seconds, and then we're going to begin pretty quickly. I'm going to drink my kombucha as always. Like what would Marianne Williamson do? That's what I asked myself in the morning. I'm like, what would Marianne Williamson do? And I was like, drink a kombucha. So that's what I do. Brad from Indiana, thanks for being here. Michelle from Ohio, I appreciate you. Sarah from Connecticut. Kathy, I hear you. What I'm going to do now, I've heard all the theories, I've heard the reports. I'm not going to go too far in, because sometimes you go too far in and more facts come out. I'm going to analyze exactly what the media is saying, what they say that the shooter said, and also, let's just get into it. I'm going to drink the kombucha, we'll do a few shout outs, and we'll try to start it early since we got a lot of people here. Whew. Okay. All right, let's just start it up. I don't want to make everybody wait. So we'll get into the Dayton one in a second, but what I do when a shooting happens, I try to wait and analyze it, because there's a lot of stuff that the media gets wrong. There's a lot of sketchy stuff. For example, whether it be 9/11 or the Vegas shooting, there's a lot of unanswered questions. The Vegas shooting, they said, oh, there's no motive, which is very rare for somebody who kills that many people to just have zero motive. So I wait and I try to see what they're saying. Before I get into what he said, first two things that were suspicious were the New York Post. I shared it yesterday. It went viral. They had two different pictures of the shooter, and he looked completely different both times. I don't know if that's probably just incompetent journalism. I'm not really sure. Another weird thing, and then I want to get into this, is that on Twitter, because apparently he left a manifesto. New York Times, Huffington Post, they're all reporting on the El Paso shooter's manifesto. And his manifesto doesn't really add up with his Twitter account, which they said he had as well. I saw his Twitter account. I thought it was suspicious because he was following like all Dallas things. It was like Dallas Stars, like Dallas soccer team, Dallas basketball team, Dallas baseball team, and Dallas. I don't know how many baseball fans are also soccer fans are also. Anyway, I'm not trying to get into too many conspiratorial stuff, but on his Twitter, he said that he was fighting with like vegans, saying how stupid it was that they were vegans because God said, that we can eat humans, like in the Bible it says that. So the weird part is, though, he has a manifesto as well, and there's not one single mention of God, and he's a super big eco-fascist environmentalist. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to get into too much. His Twitter, he's saying the word God. It looks like he's anti-vegan, and his manifesto, there's not one use of God that I saw. So that to me is suspicious. They've already suspended his Twitter, of course. They're talking about his manifesto. So I don't want to get into too much conspiratorial stuff now. What I want to do is talk about the manifesto without promoting it. But I want to tell you what the media is not telling you, because all of them are saying Trump, white supremacy. This dude was a super right-wing guy. This dude was a Republican. It's Fox News' fault. It's Tucker's fault. Let me tell you some stuff they're not telling you. Excuse me. So this guy, according to his own manifesto, the El Paso shooter, was very anti-Democrat and very anti-Republican. He did dislike both parties. They're not going to say that because it doesn't fit their agenda, but he felt that Democrats and Republicans have been failing us for decades. He wrote that the Republican Party is too pro-corporation, so therefore they're pro-immigration. So this guy was nothing like Trump. Trump is anti-illegal immigration, but Trump is very pro-immigration. He wants immigrants because there's so many jobs available that we need people to work the jobs. So Trump is, asking for legal immigration. This guy doesn't like even legal immigration. He's actually, I would say, a racist. He's against race mixing. This guy was nothing like the Republican Party, so much so that he hates the Republican Party because they're too pro-legal immigration. So this guy, what the media did get right is the El Paso shooter, according to the manifesto, and I do want to say this with an asterisk, because according to his Twitter, and then I read the manifesto, I don't even know what's real to begin with or not. I don't know if he really wrote this manifesto. I don't know. I mean, New York Post has 2 different pictures of the shooter. They need to get their story straight. But I'm simply analyzing the media, because the media has said this is his manifesto. That's not me saying that. I don't know if he wrote this or not. I don't even know who did it. But the media says this is his manifesto, and they're reporting on it, all of them. So I took a look at it, and I said, wow, even this manifesto, is nothing like what they said at all. Nothing like what they said. He doesn't like the Democratic Party. Doesn't like the Republican Party. He thinks the Republican Party is pro-corporation, which is pro-immigrant. He thinks corporations are destroying the environment. This guy had 2 paragraphs. If you would have read these paragraphs, and I'm not blaming any politicians at all, but you would have thought it was Andrew Yang and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. He's something called an eco-fascist, which I go to events, I've met thousands of people on the right wing. I've never met one eco-fascist. I very rarely meet Republicans who are environmentalists, although it is a thing. It's just not as rare. It's much more rare than the left wing. The right wing's like, I got a plastic straw. This guy said corporations are destroying the environment. They're shamelessly over-harvesting resources. He said they're polluting water, destroying millions of acres of land in cities, unnecessary plastic waste. And he even went on a rant to say, look how we can't even use a towel. You got to use paper towels. Look how much paper we're wasting. The reason I'm telling you this is no media sources reporting on this. I'm not saying the guy was a disgusting loser. I'm going to get into that in a second. But he doesn't like the Republican Party. He doesn't like Trump. He actually specifically says that. I'm going to read that in a second. He's anti-immigration, which a really messed up thing that I've been talking about for a year, that the media, you don't have to agree with me. You don't even, I'm not your judge. I'm not your mom or your dad. I don't care what your beliefs are, but just analyze the situation properly. That's what I do. I don't like certain people on the left and the right, but I don't lie about who they are. I analyze. That guy, Trump is different from David Duke. David Duke's different from, Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk and Richard Spencer are not the same. But the media says everybody is the same as Richard Spencer. They're all white supremacists. And what this does is it emboldens all sides. It emboldens the extremists on the left. It emboldens the extremists on the right. It ticks off 100, 200 million. It's like, are you just trying to lie to pat yourself on the back? The point I'm getting to is I analyze accurately. And according to this paper, this dude's nothing like a conservative or a mainstream, Republican. I'm going to read a paragraph. He said, my ideology has not changed for and this is not me saying this. This is New York Times, all the mainstream. They said this is his manifesto. My ideology has not changed for several years. My opinions on automation, immigration, and the rest predate Trump and his campaign for president. I'm putting this here because I know some people will blame the president or certain presidential candidates for the attack. It's not the case. I know that the media will probably call me a white supremacist anyway and blame Trump's rhetoric. The media is infamous for fake news. Their reaction to this attack will likely confirm that. So, once again, just like in Christchurch, the media plays right into the white supremacist hand. The guy at Christchurch was the same as this guy. He's a weirdo, eco-fascist. And I get into this a lot too because these people are very similar to the guy who committed the other attack. I'm not going to get into that in a second, but I always say that the left wing is confused because they're anti-fascist. The people, I hate fascists. I want to punch fascists. But then their ideology is basically communism. It's complete government takeover to redistribute. So that's why they're so pissed off all the time. They're anti-fascists who don't even know that they're supporting fascism. Or sometimes you'll find like the Noam Chomsky follower who's like a anarcho-communist. I'm like, anarchy means no government. Communism and fascism means total government. You can't have no government. No wonder they're confused and angry. They have 2 conflicting political ideologies that don't make sense. It's kind of like the Christchurch shooter and the El Paso guy. They're like eco-fascist anti-fascist. It's like, no wonder the dude was pissed off and confused. He has a political ideology that doesn't even make sense. I also want to say the Christchurch shooter, he said he didn't like Trump. He said he thought conservatives were weak, and he purposely named names of mainstream conservatives so that they would take the bait and then blame them because the person hated them. He thinks this guy doesn't like the Republican Party. So the other guy used mainstream voices that he thinks are weak and lame so the media would attack them. And same with this guy. He set it up. He's like, guys, I know the media is going to lie about this. And they did. Point I'm getting to, I don't want to talk about it too much. I don't want to promote this guy. Anybody's a loser that does this type of stuff. And I do want to say, despair on either side is no good. Like, oh my God, immigrants are taking our jobs. Like, dude, this guy's such a loser. There's 1 million more jobs available than there are people. Immigrants, even now, obviously, they impact the economy, illegal and legal, but there's enough jobs going around. Yeah, times could be better, but it's like he's buying into the Andrew Yang philosophy of, oh, automation's gonna take away stuff. It's like this dude was a loser and a despair, like, oh, I'm giving up. I mean, it's pathetic killing innocent people. But the point I'm even bringing up, I don't want to promote what he's saying. He's nothing like Trump. He's nothing like the right wing. He hates the right wing. He hates the Republican Party. He's literally racist. He doesn't even agree with race mixing, which is what 90% of the Republican Party is doing right now. So if you really want to stop white supremacy, you have to be honest about it. There are white supremacists. And I want to say this too, and then we're going to move on to the Ohio shooter. I don't get personal about this stuff. I've been threatened by white supremacists before. One of the main people who's ever threatened me was actually a white supremacist. I know that they're real because I'm part Puerto Rican, and I talk about how I don't think the word white and black, I think they're traps. You can feel how you feel. I don't care. I'm not your mom. I'm not the mainstream media. I'm not sitting here to tell you what to feel. I don't like the term white, just like I don't like the term black. That's a personal preference. I don't feel connected to it. And also, I think they say you're black. Black people are brown. They're light skinned. There's different colors. White people are not white. They're pink. They're, tan. They're not, no one's white. Very few people are black. Like these, to me, it's like white, black. All right, you guys fight. I don't like the terminology. I've been threatened by a white supremacist. So the point I'm getting to is if you really want to stop white supremacy and white supremacist extremists, they're very real. Trust me, I know that. They don't like me for God knows what reason. I guess they think I'm trying to be a fake white person or something. I don't know. But if you want to stop them, like everybody should want to do as far as the real extremist, dangerous people who are threatening people's lives, you can't call 200 million people white supremacists. There's 50 million Hispanic Trump supporters. There's millions of black Trump supporters. There's women. There's Pakistanis. There's Muslims. There's Christians. There's Jews. There's atheists. There's Brazilians. Everybody. There's a lot of people who support the president. So if you really want to stop white supremacists like this guy who's going to be a loser, despair, I want to kill people, stop calling everyone that. Cardi B, Rihanna, mainstream media, psychos who work for all of these corporations are saying, we want to, I'm going to get into it in a second, but there's a guy who works for CNN. I forget his name, like Reza Eslan or whatever. He said he wants to eradicate everybody who supports Trump. He said, if you support Trump, you support this shooter, you support white supremacists, so you need to be eradicated. So this guy's allowed to publicly say he wants to kill over half the country, and that's totally fine. And he wants to kill over half the country for a shooter who doesn't even like me, who doesn't even like Trump, who doesn't even like the Republican Party. He specifically wrote in the manifesto that they're claiming is so anti-immigrant, because it is. He doesn't like anyone. He doesn't like us. He doesn't like immigrants. He doesn't like race mixing. He doesn't like. He loves the environment. He thinks that Republicans are sold out to corporations and they're too pro-immigrant. Be honest about it, or else you don't really want to stop gun violence. You don't want to stop supremacy, which we know they don't. They've been doing this since 2016. So everyone's like, oh my God, what do you think, Anomaly? They're blaming Trump. They've done this every single day since 2016. Every day is everyone who likes Trump's a white supremacist. Everything is Trump's fault, whether it's kids in cages that the Obama administration built, whether it's an immigration problem that's 2 decades old, whether it's a guy who thinks that Trump is too pro-immigrant, like this guy who hates all of us, it's still our fault. If it's a left-wing shooter like the Dayton guy who I'm going to get into in a second, it's our fault. It's white supremacy, even when you're not white and you're not a supremacist and you're not even a nationalist. It's all this is what the media does. They rile up both sides. They piss off everyone, basically incite violence half the time, and then stand back and say it's your fault. Rihanna, Cardi B, Nick Cannon, they're all fake woke. They're like half-baked intellects. Like, oh my God, let me find a video of an angry white kid and let's try to blame Trump supporters for it. I can't believe this is happening. It's like, what are you even talking about? So overall, before I move on, this guy's a complete loser. He is a true supremacist. He named his manifesto, according to CNN, because I don't even know that this is a real manifesto. I don't believe half the crap they say, but this is all the mainstream media saying this is the pro-Trump manifesto. It's called The Inconvenient Truth, which is named after Al Gore's environmental movie, which scammed me as a kid. This could have been me. I would never do this, but it's like Al Gore gave me the inconvenient truth, and I'm like, oh my God, the environment's going to... You're freaking people out. This guy's like, oh my God, automation's going to take over and the environment's going to kill everybody. It's like, no, it's not. The inconvenient truth is a lie. And this guy named his whole manifesto over the Al Gore scam. When Al Gore said that the environment was going to end in the 2000s, they said that in 1980 in AP. So this guy's buying into the inconvenient truth, Al Gore's little fake movie that never manifested itself, and Andrew Yang's narrative. I'm not blaming Andrew Yang. He seems like a nice guy. But they think that automation is going to take over. This has been the narrative since the Industrial Revolution. Oh, we're going to lose jobs because of machine. What about Uber? What about Lyft? What about the fact that we're over-flooded with legal and illegal immigrants, and we still have 1 million jobs available? We're not facing this huge crisis. I can't stand despair dealers that are just like, oh my God, I don't care if they're right-wing or left-wing, Andrew Yang, Al Gore. It's like, oh, we're going to... invent something instead of trying to put it in the hands of the government or be a complete loser terrorist like this loser. Why don't you invent something that fixes the environment? Why don't you create jobs? Why don't you create the new app that creates 10 million new jobs? Like, stop. These fake people on the left and the right always use these narratives of saying, oh my goodness, we're all gonna die. And then people feel like that way. Both of these shooters were like, losers who didn't look up to anything and just felt like nothing was going their way. And, it's like they had this whole downward trajectory. America's going to lose. That's a loser. This guy's a loser. It's a loser mentality. This does nothing. And this type of stuff, just to be quite honest, it only emboldens the other side. When you do something disgusting like this complete piece of crap, you only feed into the other agenda that you claim you're fighting. You're like, oh, I'm going to save America by emboldening the side that I hate the most. And it's just, this guy's such a loser. But overall, just wanted to say, since the media won't say, in the manifesto that they're saying is his, half of it's about the environment, half of it's about, a huge paragraph how he doesn't like Trump. Most of it is anti-Republican, and there's no mention of God, even though on his Twitter he mentioned God. So somebody that says, is anti-vegan because of God, who writes a whole manifesto on environmentalism, not a whole manifesto on environmentalism, anti-immigrant environmental eco-fascism, which is a ideology which I've never heard before. It probably lives in the dark webs, which they're trying to close down now. It's very different from Trump. It's very different from conservatism. You could say there's an overlap when it comes to illegal immigrants. If you want, I'm not going to cover that up. Like, clearly there's that slight overlap, but the big difference even there is most conservatives, and especially Fox News and Trump, support immigration, but they don't support illegal immigration, which is something that Bush didn't support, Obama didn't support, no Democrat supported between 2 years ago. It's not that controversial. This guy didn't even like legal immigrants, which is nothing like. So just be honest about it. So they're using this to attack Trump, attack all people for something that this guy that has nothing to do with that. And I read that and I couldn't believe it. I was expecting this guy to just be a loser, normal right-winger. It's like, I know they exist. I'm like, all right, he's a loser right-winger. We all, there's extremists on all sides. They come in all religions, races. But he wasn't even really normal right-wing. He's like, I'm eco-fascist, right? It's like the dude's like a loser, confused. He's got two conflicting ideologies, and he thinks automation and immigration is going to ruin his life, when in reality, he just ruined a lot of people's lives because he's a pathetic coward. Now on to the Dayton shooter, because for some reason this isn't talked about. And once again, this is not to politicize it. It's just to get it out there to counter the narrative. 99% of celebrities, I wouldn't talk about this stuff at all. Talk about the names of the victims and how great their lives were. But everywhere I go, Rihanna, Cardi B, every celebrity, every person, gun control, white supremacy, Trump, this is Trump, this is Trump supporters, eradicate Trump supporters. What? The guy had nothing to do with Trump. And the Dayton shooter, his account promoted Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Antifa, leftism, socialism, Satanism, strong anti-ICE rhetoric. He called the terrorist who attacked the ICE facility a martyr. The dude was a total leftist. And I'm not blaming the left wing. I'm not even going to blame anyone for this. But what I'm saying is, you have one shooter who doesn't like Trump, who's a far-right, eco-fascist, like half left-wing, half right-wing, white supremacist, racist, who doesn't like race mixing. And then you have someone who's just a traditional left-winger who pretty much agrees with everything that AOC's saying and that whole wing and, you know, that ideology. But somehow it's 100% Trump's fault. Even though Trump has nothing to do with this. Even in his own manifesto, he says, I felt this way for a long time. I don't even like Republicans. Trump's not doing enough for me. They still blame 100% of it on Trump. When one shooting was left-wing, the other one was eco-fascist, racist. So I'm not here to politicize it. There's losers on both sides. Both political parties, in my opinion, are not, not good. I think they don't actually do anything most of the time. They just fight and bicker and waste our money and take our taxes and start wars and act like they're going to pay off the debt, which is a total lie. I'm nothing like a normal Republican or Democrat. They're like, we have to pay off the loan. We're trillions of dollars in debt. We're never going to pay off the loan, guys. I'm sorry to bust your bubble, but it doesn't matter really. It's like, we're $10 trillion in debt. We're $20 trillion in debt. We're 30 trillion. We're going to pay it off with conservatism. No, we're not. And it probably doesn't matter if we don't do it. What's the difference between being $10 million in debt? What's the difference between being $20 million in debt? What's the difference between being $30 million in debt or $30 trillion in debt? There's no difference. It's a zero on a computer. They're acting like it's this huge difference just so they could scam you. But anyway, the point I'm getting to is I don't want to politicize this. I like low taxes. I like personal liberties. I like freedom. I'm realistic, and I'm tired of being called a white supremacist, Nazi, racist, terrorist just because I don't want to vote for Democrats ever again because they can do nothing for me. And I want to say on the issue of gun control as well, because I've had a lot of conservatives hit me up and even people saying, what can we do about this anomaly? First of all, I'm not a politician. Unfortunately, I have pretty much no sway in anything. Or fortunately, I don't want sway. But they're like, can't we control guns a little bit more? And here's the truth that also celebrities aren't saying. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm not a big gun fanatic. If I could, I would snap my fingers with Marianne Williamson and I'd make every gun disappear and we'd all jump rope and eat bubble gum and jump on a trampoline together and drink kombucha. That sounds like a great day for me, honestly. I would love to eradicate all guns, but the unfortunate truth for these people who think they're going to do it in America is it's not possible. There's hundreds of millions of guns in America. America owns, I believe, over 50% of the guns of the entire world. There's millions of unregistered guns. So I just want to tell you, even if you're pro-gun regulation, you have to understand this. Even the most extreme policy, if I was Hitler or Stalin or Mao, who tried to take all the guns, and I said, hey, you know what, America? No more gun sales, no more gun shows, no more guns. I'm going to come and collect every gun from every household, every registered gun in the world. I'm talking, this is the most extreme policy. I'm not saying Democrats want to do this. I'm saying if I was a dictator and I wanted to do the most extreme gun control, stop selling guns and collect every single gun that was registered, you still would leave behind tens of millions of guns that you'd never get your hands on from criminals, from families, from conservatives, from gun owners, from mentally ill people who somehow already got a gun. I don't want mentally ill people to have a gun. I would love there to be really strong background checks. I would love there to be, Honestly, in my perfect world, yeah, there's no weapons and no one's crazy and no one does pharmacy pills. I would love that. But there's a difference between feeling a certain way and actually doing it. I don't want there to be, I wish nobody overdosed on drugs, but what did the war on drugs do? You get what I'm saying? They spent billions of your dollars, your taxpayer dollars, to fight drugs, and now we have record number suicide. Teen suicides are up. Life expectancy is down. People are killing themselves left and right over pharmacy and opioid pills. We're having more drug overdoses than we've ever had. So the war on drugs was a failure. You can't fight an inanimate object. You couldn't stop prohibition of alcohol. You're not going to be able, even with a Hitlerian policy of taking everyone's guns and stopping sales, you'd still leave behind tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of guns. So I don't know what you want me to say. You could post with Rihanna and Cardi B and, act like CNN and say you're gonna stop gun violence, but it's just not really possible. And I wish it was. I wish there was no weapons in the world. I would denuclearize every single country and we'd live in harmony. Trust me, I'm a very peaceful guy. Just look at the UK. They have no guns. Gun violence is on the rise, according to The Guardian. Knife violence is on the rise. Acid attacks came out of nowhere. The violence rate in London surpassed New York City, according to the USA Today. They're going upwards as we're going backwards, and they don't have guns. And guess what they're trying to do in the UK now? They're trying knife control. They said, well, now we got to take knives because people are stabbing each other. I'm not a fan of guns. I'm not a fan of guns when a psychopathic loser kills people in Texas. I'm not a fan of guns when a psychopathic loser kills people in Dayton. I'm not a fan of guns when we use them overseas. I'm not really a fan of guns when people kill each other in Chicago and Baltimore every single weekend and no one cares. The amount of people that have died there over the last years, I think it's called HeyJackass.com. They have a whole website, HeyJackass, I believe, .com. It's just Chicago. They're saying, hey, jackass, this is happening in Chicago. And you're doing nothing about it. It's like death, death, death every day. Death, death, death. No one cares. Death, death, death. I don't like guns ever, but there is gun control there. Places with strict gun regulation, it's hard. You could say, let's not let them buy them in Nevada. Even if you tried, I'm sorry, even if you try to take every single gun from every single person, it just wouldn't happen. I don't know what other way to say it. It's like trying to... I can't think of another example, but there's too many guns. There's too many unregistered illegal guns. There's too many gun owners. There's just hundreds of millions of guns. You're never taking them all away. It's just not possible. And I'm saying this in the kindest way possible, where it's like if there was some sort of way, and the Second Amendment obviously is very valuable to protect yourself. If Donald Trump is a fascist and the police and ICE are really criminal terrorists, like the left wing says, then wouldn't you want to protect yourself from the fascist president and the criminal terrorist law enforcement? Or would you want to give them your guns so they have guns and you don't? I can't follow the logic. I don't think there is any. I understand that emotions are high and, this is what they do. But overall, you have to understand, too, on the left wing and the right wing, they use women, children, and tragedies to push political agendas. I'll give you an example. I said this on my Instagram. In the war on Syria, Donald Trump said he was going to pull the troops out of Syria. He was doing what he said he was going to do. He stopped terrorism there for the most part. And he said, you know what, I'm going to pull the troops out of Syria. As soon as he pulls the troops out of Syria, randomly, Syria just chemically attacks its own people, so then Donald Trump has to stay in Syria. You think any country that, America, the biggest, most strongest country in the world, who just invaded Iraq and killed Saddam Hussein, who just invaded Libya and killed Muammar Gaddafi, you think you would want them to stay? You think you'd just randomly chemically attack your own people on the day that the most scary country is about to leave your country and then leave you alone? Of course not. But that's what they do. They need a tragedy, they need women, they need children, and they'll find any narrative, real or made up, to push that sort of agenda. So when it comes to the people in charge, if you notice the narrative, if you take out all the emotions, if you take out all the celebrities, if you take out all the politics, which even in these events, when it comes to the Dayton and El Paso shooter, like I said, it does, the politics that the media says that they had don't even add up. The one guy was left-wing. The one guy was a racist eco-fascist who hated Republicans. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it isn't even adding up even politically, but you take all the politics out of it. You take all the rhetoric and the screaming from celebrities out of it. What they're basically saying is, I want to raise your taxes. I don't want you to have, your policy on the Second Amendment. I don't want you to support the president for any reason. I support the president because of endless war. That's one of my favorite things he does among, smaller government. He isn't perfect. Highly questionable what's going on in Yemen. Is he selling weapons to Saudi Arabia? Are they killing people in Yemen? Is there a famine in Yemen? I think there is, but the media never talks about it, so we'll never get to that important topic that Trump might be doing wrong, which is awful. What's going on in Syria? We don't know because we can never talk about it, but I like that Trump wasn't as bullish as George Bush. He wasn't as bullish as Obama. I'm not saying he's perfect, but he wasn't as bullish as Hillary Clinton. So what he did in Syria, albeit it's not the total distance, he helped out Syria a lot. And I know that I have friends there. It's much better than it was during Obama's administration. That's why I like him. But if I listen to Cardi B or Rihanna, who is 1/50th as informed and intelligent as I am, maybe informed, I'm sure they're smart in other ways, but they say I'm a supremacist, racist, terrorist. God forbid I oppose slavery in Libya. That's what Obama did, literal slavery. He killed the leader and left slavery and organ harvesting and a power vacuum. I don't like that. So the message I get from them is, if you're smarter than me, if you're more informed than me, if you're anti-slavery, if you're anti-war, if you're anti-big government, if you're, pro-First and Second Amendment, you're a terrorist, supremacist, Nazi, and you need to be eradicated by off the planet. And I'm not even exaggerating. That's what CNN contributors are saying to the public. They're saying, or past CNN contributors, I don't know if they still work there. I'm sure they got fired, but maybe not. Eradicate you. Get out of the way. We want slavery. We want endless war. We want high taxes. We want complete control over the healthcare industry. And if you dare want to keep your money or keep your rights or keep your freedom or oppose my war policy, why do you think the media hates Tulsi Gabbard? I don't agree with Tulsi Gabbard on domestic issues. I think she's a little too far left from my perspective when it comes to domestic issues, and I probably won't support her for that reason. However, the media hates Tulsi Gabbard because Tulsi Gabbard calls them out in Syria, in Saudi Arabia, and she calls out Israel, which you're not really allowed to do. So that's why the media hates Tulsi Gabbard. You don't have to like Tulsi Gabbard. I don't particularly like Tulsi Gabbard after what she did last debate when it came to the fake missile alert, a total lie. I'm not really feeling her this last couple weeks, but I could tell you why the media doesn't like her. It's because she's not the chosen puppet, and she's anti-regime change war in Syria. And I promise you, regardless of what you think about Dayton or El Paso or America or Trump or kids in cages, the media cares really bad about that war in Syria. They really, really care about overseas more than you think. So you can do whatever you want, but don't question the gun control narrative like Neil deGrasse Tyson. You could chill all you want, talking all the space things they want you to talk. But the one time Neil deGrasse Tyson uses common sense and science, they say, Neil, apologize now. And I'm not telling you who to agree and not to agree with. I'm just telling you that's why the media doesn't like Tulsi Gabbard. The media is mad at Neil deGrasse Tyson, not for his space stuff. That's great. It's because he didn't play along with the gun control narrative. So when you see people, the point I'm trying to get to is, even if you don't like Trump, and you think he's a fascist, and you think ICE is a terrorist agency, although they're not, they just do their job, the police force, if you can identify what they're doing as far as endless wars. I think both the left and the right know that Syria, Iraq, Libya, Somalia, Yemen, it's like no one knows what we're even doing over there. If you can identify that they would do that, do you not think they're capable of doing something here? So who benefits when things like this happen? Who benefits? I don't benefit. Trump definitely doesn't benefit. Kamala Harris benefits. I'm not saying she did it, but she's putting out emails. Oh my God, white supremacy is on the rise. Quick, donate to me. She'll probably make more money in these next couple of days than she ever will. And it should be noted also that Kamala Harris had an anti-lynching bill, even though lynching is obviously illegal. She had an anti-lynching bill conveniently being passed around the time of the Jussie Smollett situation. And Jussie Smollett fakes hang himself and actually got caught. He screwed up. He got caught staging something. He had a noose around his neck, and what do you know? Kamala Harris is like, hey, I have anti-lynching legislation. And what does Congress do? They pass it because, oh my goodness, Jussie Smollett got lynched, and I have paperwork? I'm sure that was just coincidental. I'm sure she just happened to have anti-lynching legislation. Lynching hasn't been around in this country for a long time. You know when lynching was around? In the 1800s, like in 1870, when Republicans voted for the first black senator in 1870. That's when Republicans were working with black people, 1870. In the 1900s, when the KKK was around to pressure black people and the Republicans who worked with them, there was lynching back then. Do you know when there's not really lynching? Now, 1993, that's the first time that a black senator, got voted to the Democratic Party. So they're the party of slavery. They're the party of the KKK. They're the party of Jim Crow. They're the party that's probably behind lynching. All of that changes. Now all of a sudden they're the freedom fighters and they're fighting lynching. In 2019, they finally have a lynching bill after 100 years of racism when there's no lynching. And then there's randomly... All I'm saying is, who benefits from this? Same with the, all of this stuff. And I'm not saying where it's coming from. I have no idea. There are really horrible people on the left and the right. There are really supremacists. There are really evil people. It's very real. But you look at this, you look at who's just massively fundraising, you look at who now gets to push their agenda, you look at who now gets to have more support base because they're scaring the crap out of people and they think they're living in end times. It's hard for me to imagine these same people who lie about everything, who start wars that I know, I could see, I've tracked, I've watched, I've read every single article on them. I know that they do that. Why would they stop? You get what I'm saying? Why would they stop doing it if no one ever holds them accountable? They've never been caught. That's all I'm saying. I don't know what exactly is going on. These are obviously tragedies. It's awful. I'm just saying, I'm tired of people using it to fundraise. You notice me, I didn't even put, and it doesn't matter. I'm not trying to be holier than thou. You can do what you want. But when I talk about stuff like this, I try to almost always, I don't put any of my fundraising links because I don't even want to be associated with that. I don't want people to say, oh, you're doing this for that. No, most times I don't even talk about this stuff. I just found this one very interesting. I won't even put my links. And I could. It is what it is. People who say, oh my God, what? It's not just that they're fundraising off this. If you need to make money, make money. Although I would say it's probably not a good idea in these situations. But at least tell the truth and make money. Be like, here's what's really going on, and I just need some money too. What they do is they lie. They say Trump, white supremacy, even though this guy had nothing to do with Trump, give me your money. So lie, give me your money. I don't trust liars. That's all I'm going to say. And once you lie to me once, you can lie to me 1,000 times. You can lie to me 1,000,000 times. That's why it's important to spot out lies, even on the right wing. I call Trump out for lying sometimes, and people freak out. I'm not saying you don't have to like Trump. I'm not saying you don't have to vote for Trump. I'm not even saying you don't have to agree with me. But when I see him or Dan Crenshaw or Ted Cruz lie, the reason I want to call it out is because if I allow you to lie to me one time, I allow you to lie to me 10 times. That's how they get you. So now you have people like probably both of these loser, pathetic piece of crap shooters who live in a world of lies. It's like, this is a lie, this is a lie. They're watching liars. They're only talking to liars. You got to understand a lot of these, and I'm not anti-message board, anti-freedom. I don't even go on these websites. But a lot of these people are just riling in their own despair. I know there's things that I talk about that no other Republicans will talk about. So I get some of these people listening to me, but they're always angry. They're always mad. They're always aggressive. They're the type that's always freaking out. They need a conversation with somebody who's less extreme, because usually what they do is they sit on these message boards and that's all that they do. They only talk amongst themselves and they just regurgitate the same talking points over and over, and they get madder and madder and angrier. Where if they got out of those little rabbit holes, they might realize that some things could be better, some things could be worse, but overall it's not this dire situation. There's still room to be. For instance, I'll give you an example. The El Paso shooter was saying that all immigrants or all Hispanics are going to vote for Democrat and it's going to be all over. I don't think that that's true. I think around 50% of Hispanics support Trump now, and I would say Hispanic culture, having lived in it a little bit, not completely, but is very pro-God, very conservative. They're actually more anti-LGBT than America is. Their movements in South America, like Brazil and Mexico, they're more conservative than even American conservatives are. So That's not true that 100% of Hispanics are just going to vote for the Democrats and it's all over for conservatives. That's a loser mentality. It's like, while you're reveling in your own sadness, there's millions of conservative Latinos. I follow like 12 of them on Instagram, and they're constantly trying to get the message to conservatives. There's Democrat Hispanics. You don't need to live in this world of despair. Whether you're left-wing or right-wing, whether you think the environment's going to end, whether you're mad at, different races and you're a legitimate, anti-race fearmonger like this guy, you get what I'm saying? It's like, these are the conversations I want to get to people, because no matter how much the media demonizes me or tries to lie about me or tries to lie about what I'm doing when I'm helping, I'm inspired by people like Daryl Davis. I bring him up a lot because he's really encapsulates the ideology that I believe in at the core, the Martin Luther King ideology, the spiritual Taoist Buddhist. I'm sure it's in Christianity, many others. He got 200 as a black jazz musician. He got 200 KKK members to quit. I bring this up a lot because it's a beautiful story. How did a black jazz musician get 200 KKK members to quit? He talked to them. He interacted with them. He let them borrow his car. He was so cool that they realized that they weren't actually racist, and that if Daryl Davis was a black man and everyone else could act like him, that they had no problem. And 200 KKK members quit. They realized that white ideology, that white supremacist ideology that they were following was too narrow-minded. So, reason I say, I know that's not a popular opinion. You say that now, even I've seen the mainstream media try to smear Daryl Davis, but whether it be a left-wing extremist or a right-wing extremist, people are hurt. People are lost. People are living in a world of despair because they watch CNN, they watch MSNBC, they watch Fox News. I'm not blaming these news stations, but they sit on 8chan every day and they watch, the same person every single day who makes them feel scared. They need somebody to reach across the aisle sometimes and talk to them. I mean, outside of these disgusting loser shooters, we have teens killing themselves left and right. We have the biggest teen suicide problem we've ever had, of people who kill themselves. People need help. People need a conversation. When you have most of the media calling everybody a white supremacist, scaring the crap out of the left wing, lying about who the right wing is, forcing people in a corner, forcing them onto 8chan, not allowing them to even have a conversation at all, it's not helping either side. It's creating extremists on the left. It's creating extremists on the right. What I do is I look for bridges to build without being a total, naive person. I'm looking for a bridge. I could talk to a communist and say, you know what? I've had a conversation with a communist. I don't agree. They're not an extremist. They're not somebody who's going to act on it like the far left extremist. And to be honest, most communists and most socialists won't act on it. They're not, most right-wingers are not extremists. Most left-wingers are not extremists. There's a very small group on the fringes that are violent and becoming violent. But if you have a conversation with people, you understand where they're coming from. And you're like, yeah, I don't agree with that, but maybe I can walk you back this way a little bit. Maybe we can have a conversation. But when you don't, and you don't give anybody an inch, that's what you get. And a lot of these people, like the Dayton shooter and the ICE bomber, they're just listening to the media. And I'm not even trying to paraphrase it. I mean, this is what the media has said 10 million times. Every celebrity has said, Donald Trump hates immigrants. Donald Trump hates Mexicans. Donald Trump's killing kids in cages. This is not a fringe. This you don't have to go to 8chan to read that. You don't have to go to the dark web to read that. It's everywhere. You can't get away from it. You can't even log into Instagram without seeing it. So when you're talking about who radicalized the Dayton shooter, you don't have to go to the far corners of the dark web. You can't get away from it. They're telling you that that's happening. So why is he filled with despair? Because if you listen to most left-wing media, that's what they do. They fill you with that type of lies and despairs. Where the right wing, they definitely have their flaws, but they don't cover a lot. And there's a lot of things that the right wing, they are too much fear, and also they're a little fake in my opinion. So then people feel disenfranchised with the right wing, and then they go fly in the corner and start listening to, Richard Spencer or some of this guy. And I'm not sitting here blaming Richard Spencer for it. I'm not blaming it, just like I'm not blaming the news for it. However, It's like when you don't give people a hand, like Charlie Kirk's and Fox News is, they say, if you don't agree with us, you go there. So then people go there and they only talk to themselves. What I try to do is say, come here. You don't have to be Charlie Kirk or Donald Trump, but don't live in a world of despair and anger and hate and racism. You've never met a Hispanic person that's conservative. You've never met a black person that you've liked. Like, why are you so racist? Like, get over here. And same with the far left. It's like, that's what the left wing should be doing. If you're a moderate left wing, you shouldn't be telling them that, there's an apocalypse concentration camps going on. That's not a smart idea. That's how you create extremists. I wouldn't do that. I don't do that now. But if I was left wing and I didn't like Trump, I'd be like, you know what? Even if I supported illegal immigration, I would be like, listen, guys, I support illegal immigrants. I think they should be able to live here, work, no borders. But I think it's a little bit of a stretch that, I wouldn't demonize all ICE people. 50% of them are legal Hispanic citizens. So if you really love Hispanics, you can't hate a law enforcement agency that's 50% Hispanic. That's what I would say if I was left-wing, and I would try to de-radicalize the far left. But no one seems really willing to do this. It's either go in the corner, and with the far left, they're so wrapped in so many lies. They think it's the new Holocaust. They think that the climate is going to end in 12 months or 12 years or 12 days, whatever they're lying about now. Even this right-wing shooter, who they say was like Donald Trump, he named his manifesto The Inconvenient Truth after Al Gore's environmental movie. He has 2 paragraphs on economic, environmental destruction, which is not a mainstream right-wing talking point at all. Quite the opposite. It's the opposite of what the main... So, you get what I'm saying? A lot of this has to do with despair, lack of a conversation, and lies on top of lies on top of lies. I know, I'll say this as well. I know a lot of truthers that, they're the truther community because they know the media's lying. They know that the musicians are lying. So they seek truth, the conspiracy theorists. A lot of them have no idea what they're talking about because they just fly off the handles. It's like they know everyone's lying, so then they go in their corner and they believe everything that they read. I could make a post, literally, and I'm not trying to be mean. I could make a post and I could say, Donald Trump, created a hurricane that blew out the deep state, totem pole in Missouri, and it fell over and it had a Tesla's instruments inside, and then Trump got those, and now he's going to the secret space base on the moon. I could say that, and you'd have millions of truthers saying, oh my goodness, dude, Trump's really working hard. He knocked over the totem pole to get the Tesla instruments to go to the secret moon. That's how what I'm saying is, it's not just left-wing or right-wing, it's everybody. The truthers who are seeking truth, a lot of them blindly accept lies because they only sit in their, little corner. And this is a product... The truthers, the conspiracy theorists, the left wing, the right wing, this is all a product of a society that has lied to their own people. When you lie about the food industry for 2 or 3 decades, when you look at children's food and in some cases medicine and health diets and health issues in the United States, when you look at the medicine industry, when you look at the media, when you look at the education system, these are decades of lying to your own people. People don't know what to believe. I'm a truther. I'll believe all that. I'm a right-wing extremist. I'm going to blame automation and immigrants. I'm a left-wing extremist. I'm going to blame ICE and Donald Trump and concentration camps. It's like this, you create a society of people who are mentally unstable, mentally ill, don't believe in anything, have no hope, have no solutions, and are just filled with despair and self-hatred. And that's a lot of what they're pushing in the mainstream movement. I know the Dayton shooter had he, her, him, whatever. Like, he had, the pronouns. Like, he was trying... I mean, what do you think it does to young men? Men commit suicide more than women. Most gun violence is suicide. More men kill themselves than women. What do you think it does to the psyche of a young man who is more likely to kill himself now than ever when you tell him that they're to blame for white supremacy and it's their supremacist and they're a bad person for being a male and they're him, her, her, your gender doesn't exist, God doesn't exist, your family's bad, have this type of relationship. You're screwing up these kids' minds. What do you think it does to somebody who, wants to be comfortable in his own skin, but isn't allowed to be? I'll give you an example. We're going to go through the races real quick. It's a very real conversation. I got the viewers. I'm going to keep it real. Let's go through the races and say what you're allowed to do. This doesn't bother me because I'm not an identitarian. I'm not a loser. I'm not soft. I don't care. You could throw all the oppression my way. You're not going to make me cry. I'm still going to win, and I'm going to live my life and be confident. But if you're black, you're allowed to be proud, and you're not a black supremacist. You're supposed to be proud. You're allowed to say black and proud, I'm black, only buy black, buy from black businesses, date black women, blacks are king black. These are billboards all over the place. Like black is king, black is better. That's all fine. If you question anything black as white, then you're racist. Okay. Let's move to Jewish. You can be pro-Jewish. You could have a Jewish news publication. If you have a news publication that says, hey, this is a Jewish news publication for Jewish people, that's totally fine. You could have your own country in Israel. It's the Jewish, motherland. You can only fly out Jews. You have Washington Post doing articles about, hey, we're flying Jewish people down to Alabama to have sex with other Jewish people. Imagine if you did that as any other race. You said, hey, we're flying out black people, or we're flying out white people or Hispanics to have sex with Hispanics or whites. It wouldn't be allowed. Only Jewish people could get away with that in the publication. They're like, we're flying our own out to have sex. That's mainstream news in the Washington Post. I'm not making this stuff up. You're allowed to do all that stuff. You're not allowed to be questioned or it's anti-Semitic. Let's go to white. Are you allowed to be proud and white like you are if you're Jewish or black? No, you're not. You're not. If you're white and proud, you're now a white supremacist. So if you're Jewish and proud, that's fine. If you have a Jewish-owned publication, that's fine. Black entertainment television, that's fine. Black and proud, that's fine. White and proud, supremacist. White and want to do a whites-only publication like black and Jewish, white supremacist. White and you don't even want to be proud because you're not that proud of yourself. You're just like, I'm just going to be white and exist. I'm just going to be like white and just be like, I don't hate myself. I'm white. I'm not overly proud, but I just don't hate myself. You're still a white supremacist. You're not going far enough. You're racist because you don't want to go further into the victim card. You don't want to give up your masculinity. You don't want to give up your identity. You don't want to give up your culture. You don't want to give up your confidence. So you're a supremacist. This is what they do. I mean, I don't know any other way to put it. So I don't care because they're not going to change my views. But what do you think it does systemically? Jewish and black, you're allowed to have your own publications, buy from your own businesses, hire your own people. They do it constantly. They say, black-owned businesses, we're only buying black. That's what we're doing. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. Do it away. But if you're white, not only can you not do that, which I don't think should be a thing, just buy from the best business regardless of the race, but you're not even allowed to exist as a white person, or else they say you're racist just for not being a total cuck loser who wants to just throw it all away. So you're creating either a left-wing person who hates himself, who says him, her. My identity is being weak. My identity, if you're white in the mainstream, you're only allowed to identify if you're weak and guilty. You're not allowed to identify as confident, strong, and proud. That's supremacy. But identifying as weak, to blame, and responsible for all the world's ills is totally okay. There's no other thing like it. So you're either building left-wing, weak, pathetic men who, don't know how to do anything and hate themselves and feel to blame and feel weak, or you're creating supremacists like this guy who just take it the totally other direction and say, you know what, F all you, I'm against everyone. No, I'm not justifying either. I think they're both losers, but you have a system in the education system, in the media, you're almost allowing for no other reason. I don't care what Jewish people do. I don't care what black people do. I don't care what Hispanic people do. But there's no other culture. Hispanic, you could be Hispanic and proud. Indian, you could be Indian and proud. Black, you could be black and proud. Indian, you could buy Indian businesses. Asian, you could buy Asian businesses. You can only hang around Asians. White, you're not only not allowed to do any of that, but you're not even allowed to self-identify unless you're sorry and unless you're cucked. So you're creating multiple problems. You're creating extremists. You're creating a conversation that's not even to be allowed to happen. Like if you're Trump is basically just like, hey, I love everybody. I love immigrants. I need more immigrants. The economy's so good, we need immigrants. And you call Trump a white supremacist. Trump is not a white supremacist. This guy, the El Paso guy, was. And specifically in his manifesto, he hates the Republican Party because he thinks the Republican Party is too pro-immigrant. He's against race mixing, which means, guess what? He wouldn't like me. I'm a product of race mixing. I'm Puerto Rican, Italian, Polish, Czechoslovakian. Half my family's Mexican. I have siblings that have kids with someone Caribbean, so they're half black. He hates my whole family. This guy has nothing to do with me, nothing to do with the Republican Party. I'm just saying, as an analyst, looking at the situation, you're putting white Europeans and Americans in a really tough spot. If you're not white and you support the president, as black, as Asian, if you're an Indian Indian Trump supporter, or you're an Hispanic or a woman, you're still a white supremacist, even though you're not. You get what I'm saying? It's like they throw that label on you. If you're going to support the president as a black woman, you're going to get so much hate, it's disgusting. The things that they say to black conservatives is disgusting. They hate them. So if you're white and you just want to exist, it's like you have the whole world coming down on you, especially when it comes to suicide rates. Men need help. Men need help too. Young women need help. There are rapists. There are weirdo guys. There are predators. These are all real. Women need help. But this whole culture is anti-man and equality, but you specifically can only identify if you identify as a weakling. So what I do, different than and I'm different from conservative news. I'm different from Democrat news. I actually analyze, what is this guy saying? What's the Dayton shooter? What is he really thinking? What are these people? What does the far right really think? And I listen to them. I don't just call everybody's that. No, that's not true. I'm like, I know what they think, and they're wrong in the sense of they're angry, they're hateful, they're becoming racist, they're becoming bitter. It's awful. But I see why it's all transcribing. It's basically like, I'll give you an example, because people can't take a little nuance and they freak out. I'm not anti-medicine. I'm pro-medicine. I'm pro-Western medicine, but there's certain Western medicine that's unnecessary, and we're being overprescribed pharmacy pills, and they're killing a lot of people. They're leading to mental illnesses. This is something you'll never see in the news, and they'll probably try to ruin my life for even saying it, but look at the correlation between mental illness and pharmacy usage. Look at the correlation between pharmacy usage and suicides. Look at the rate between shootings and pharmacy pills. There's big correlations there, but they'll never talk about it. So it doesn't make me anti-medicine because I can point that out. They'll say, oh, you're anti-medicine. Oh, because you don't want to condemn them. You believe it. No, I don't. I think they're losers. I think that they have issues, but I want to stop it from happening. Rihanna doesn't want to stop it. Cardi B doesn't want to stop it. The Republicans don't even want to stop it. They're too afraid to be involved, so they're like, we must condemn. They don't want to stop it. I want to stop it. I don't care. I'll go out on a limb. I get it. No one else is going to say it, but I want to stop the far right. I want to stop the far left. And what these people are doing is, and when you have a circus that is as big as the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, and the mainstream media, people feel disenfranchised. Why do you think Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez are doing so well? I don't agree with their politics at all. But I'm not a liar like most right-wingers, and I just say Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is so dumb. She is a little bit low IQ probably. But anyway, jokes aside, that's not fair analysis. I know Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders are not the problem. They're the root of the problem. You have 20 years of Chuck Schumer's and Nancy Pelosi's and George Bush's and John McCain's. You get an Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and then you're going to act like she just came out of nowhere? Fox News, let's make fun of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for 5 months straight and make her more popular. You don't want to solve the problem. The problem's that I know why Bernie Sanders is popular. I know why Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is popular, because the left wing and the Democratic Party lied to their people for a decade. So when you lie to your people for a decade, and then you ramp up the lies from 2016 till now, people know you're a liar, and then they disperse. Some people go to Trump. Some people go to the QAnon movement. Some people go to the Truther movement. Some people go to 8chan. Some people go to, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Some people go to Bernie Sanders. They're popular because people don't have faith in the media or the Democratic Party, and they shouldn't, and that's why it's happening. Same with the far right. It's like they're disenfranchised with the mainstream Republican Party. The Republican Party's been incompetent for a decade now. Trump, I would argue, is more competent and doing better. Some would argue he's just as bad. I know a lot of people that still don't like him in their right wing. And then they go to 8chan, and then they just circle jerk all their negative opinions about how much they hate everybody, and they're blaming, the whole society because they can't cope it, or they think they're going to lose, and they're give up crybabies. I don't agree with them. I don't agree with the fringes, but you have to analyze it, assess it, reach out on a limb, in my opinion. I would love to have a conversation with Cortez. I would love to have a conversation with Bernie's supporters. I don't blame the support. I'm not going to say everyone who supports Alexandria. I have friends who like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. You think I would ever say on my Instagram, every single person who supports Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is a terrorist supremacist? That's crazy. I have friends who like her. They're good people. They like her for different reasons. You get what I'm saying? It's like no one doesn't like the one politician for the same reason because they all want the world to crumble. The media's lying. Politicians are lying. And unfortunately, you mix that with lack of family. Families are at an all-time low. Mental health is at an all-time low. Mental illness is at an all-time high. Suicide's at an all-time high. Life expectancy is going backwards for the first time. Pharmacy pills are being overprescribed. Marianne Williamson tries to say it, and CNN freaks out at her and says not to say it. It's a recipe for disaster. So we could do what celebrities do, and we could act surprised every time something bad happens. It's like stirring up a pot filled with stew, and then the stew's done, and you're like, where did that go? Why is there stew? You made it. You boiled it, you put all the ingredients in, you stirred it, you let it sit there for 20 years, it fermented, and then you want to act surprised when it's dinner time? Give me a break. And that's what most media does. Oh my God, we got to condemn, we got to pass legislation. It's not a single thing of legislation. Even the most extreme gun legislation is not going to be able to take 300 million guns off the market. I'm sorry, folks, it's just impossible. But this type of conversation needs to be had overall. And I think the more that they ignore this, the more that they call everybody who disagrees with them supremacists, the more that the right wing just makes fun of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the left wing says that everybody's racist, you're stirring up the pot, you're pissing off hundreds of millions of people. Nobody knows who to believe. I mean, the amount of lies, I don't even want to get into too much, but I mean, you go into space, everybody seems to agree on that. It's like, well, I'm left wing, I like space, I'm right wing. A lot of that is made up too. Today they came out with a new report. Did you know that there's a star that's older than the universe? This is like MSN mainstream news. We found a star that's older than the universe. How does that make sense? If the universe is everything, nothing can be older than the universe, but they do math and science and nothing they say in space adds up. And then they say, whoa, guys, a star is older than the universe and we can't figure out why. The moon is within the Earth's atmosphere now because we just changed. Everybody's tired of being lied to. It's like there's so many lies. Some people can't handle it and they fly to the fringe and to the message boards. Me personally, I don't care that much. Like, people can lie a lot, but I'm not going to become extreme and hateful. I think that's how you lose. And I'm going to end on that note is a lot of these attacks. I'm going to read my it's on my wall real quick. Hold on. It says your worst enemy cannot harm you as much as your own unguarded thoughts. And I kind of live by that philosophy because a lot of the enemy, whether you think it's Trump, whether you think it's the right wing or the supremacists or the left wing or whoever you want to blame, a lot of what the enemy wants to do, a lot of what the devil wants to do, even if you're not religious, you could use a different metaphor, they want to make you hurt yourself. They want to make you hurt other people. They want to take control of your mind because your mind is what can change your life. In an Obama or a Bush presidency, you can be great. In times of turmoil, you can succeed and make a difference. So they want to crush your mind and they want to crush your spirit so then that they can therefore, make you into a despair person who just hates everything and wants to give up. So just understand that whether you listen to Fox News or CNN, don't give up. Don't become negative. Don't become apocalyptic. Take the weaknesses in our society, take the bad parts of our society and see it as inspiration, see it as motivation. I didn't like the media, so I became the media. I don't want to do media. I don't like politics, but the media was so bad. I said, you know what? I could do better than that, and I legitimately can, so I did it, and it's made my life better, and I've been able to do things I've never been able to do, I never could have done with a 9-to-5 job. So use the down parts of society to pave a lane for you. If you're the only one saying it, then you say it. You keep it realer. You find a solution for the world. You break the news in a way that people understand. So don't buy into this rhetoric, whether it be psycho, loser, pathetic, criminal, terrorist shooters like these two losers, regardless of their political affiliation, or like a lot of these media figures on both sides who just want to run you in circles and get you down so they can sell you pharmacy pills in the commercial. I mean, that seems to be, when I watch TV, that seems to be what I take away from it. I watch Comedy Central, and then they make me feel like crap in the commercials, and then they sell me pharmacy pills. I watch Fox News or CNN. They want to, make me angry and then sell me pharmacy pills. Like that just seems to me like the cycle on the media. But regardless of that, don't be negative. Don't be hateful. Don't be emotional and start attacking your brothers and sisters, your neighbors, your political affiliates, your friends. Don't become irrational. Don't become part of the problem. Become part of the solution. And I think that starts within us. And I think the most evil and the most basically negative thing that they can really do to you is take control of your mind and take control of your spirit. And if you don't have control of your mind and spirit, you're susceptible to do evil things on their behalf. You're susceptible to give up. You're susceptible to, feed into the apocalyptic narrative that both sides tend to push sometimes. And just don't do that, because there's no reason to. So that's the note I want to end on. I hope everyone has a good day. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America, and God bless the world. Enjoy whatever you do. Life is a blessing. Nothing is guaranteed. The narrative around these two stories were ridiculously fabricated, and I'm not the be-all, end-all. I just wanted to counter the narrative a little bit. And if people truly want to stop right-wing white supremacy and left-wing terrorism, whatever you want to call it, right-wing, and they would say, oh, it's all whatever. Put any name on it you want to. If you really want to stop it, you would try to build a bridge and figure out how to get the people back and figure out what's causing them to go so far out, whether it be medicine, whether it be a society and a family and a media structure that doesn't care about them and has disenfranchised them. That's really the key. And people on the left and right feel that way. And in many cases, they're not right to act on it in a negative way. There's nothing that justifies that. But people don't believe the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party lies too much. People don't believe the Republican Party because they've been weak and frail. And honestly, before Trump, they had no pulse whatsoever. And even a lot of people don't like Trump on the right wing. So, you get what I'm saying? It's like, if you want to stop this stuff, create the solution at the root level, from every level, from mental health to why people are feeling this way systemically. Don't just keep doing the same wrong things and acting surprised every 2 weeks when something bad happens. It's not going to stop happening until we get to the root of one of the 30 issues that I mentioned today. So thank you guys for joining. Have a great week, and hopefully this could be a realer conversation than most people are having on this situation. And I pray that I don't have to ever do this again. I notice, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I almost never post about tragedies. I almost never use like these type of stuff. I try to stay completely away from, for the most part, on Facebook. It just hurts my soul, and it's disgusting, and there's no winning. And it's either I post an article that everyone posts and say, oh my God, this is a tragedy, or I condemn something. It's just like, that's not really what I'm here for. I'm more trying to bring inspiration, also bring a different perspective. So that's why I talked about it today, so I could really get a better perspective or a different perspective than other people. But this is my least favorite thing to do. And it's my least favorite time. It's a very draining time for anybody involved, anyone's family, anybody in general. It's a spiritual and physical drain on our country if we were one being. And we're fractured very bad in this country. And could be worse, it could be better, but we have a fracture and nobody wants to heal it. In that sense, I agree with Marianne Williamson. Not what she's trying to do. I don't think she's trying to do it properly. But from a spiritual aspect, I think she identifies the problem and we have different solutions. But it is true that we are fractured. And I don't think very many people are trying to figure out how to heal it. And it's it's a long way to go. So hopefully I can help do that. Have a good day, guys. I'll be back soon, and I appreciate you, as always, for being here, especially today. So thank you for your support. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for the shares on, not this video, I don't really care, but you know, my picture posts and my other videos and stuff. It's very appreciated. Thank you.